tiny boy. You got a big brother coming soon. You're gonna be a little brother. You have responsibilities now. So the Panasonic S5 coming out, full frame, better than the S1 in many ways, worse than every other full frame camera on the market. Let's discuss it if it's worth the potential that befolds it.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So we're on the Panasonic G9, Leica 15mm, 21.7. Just to prove a point, that point being that certainly nobody would release a camera in this day and age with contrast detect only autofocus, so don't worry, Panasonic wouldn't do that. I wrote down the specs, definitely phase detect in here, we'll get to that. So let's talk about this. Panasonic S5, it's slightly lighter than its big fat bloated cousins who eat Cheetos and milk together and then fart on each other. And they have a contest. Nobody wins that contest, don't enter it. Never do it. So this camera, I would be pissed if I was an S1 owner, which I could still be. I definitely still have it. I love that camera. I'm so blessed to have had it, and it's so much better than the Fuji. I just kept it, for sure. I did not sell it in anticipation of the R5 and R6 and Sony A7S III. I knew Panasonic was the way. L-mount. Alliance. It's an alliance of 3 companies, and they're definitely better than the one. They're not. But as an S1 owner, imagine this. They make a camera that's basically the same, but they give you the flippy screen back. They shave off like 300 grams, and it becomes somewhat usable. Although you're going to have this autofocus. We'll get to that right now. See these notes? Bunch of features here. I need that. None of these features matter if we're not in focus and we can't rely on it. It's so irritating, the contrast detection, even if it has me. It already lost me at least twice in this video. Every time I hit the shade, every time an elephant pees on me, it's gone. Or is it ever? Panasonic reminds me of the kid in school who used to lick the glue stick. And he's just like, oh, it's kind of tasty. Like, yeah, they add something to it. They shouldn't. Why did they make it taste good? For dumb kids. Dumb Panasonic kids. It's like making the same mistake over and over again. It's like, why are you walking with your shoelaces tied together on both feet? Just untie them, and then you won't fall. And he's like, oh, I just like it like that. Panasonic, you have one job. One job on Earth. Make the same exact camera you've been making, but add phase detection autofocus, and we're good. I'll praise. You will win the universe. If there's a contest, you'll win it. You got 14 stops of dynamic range. There's no Sony A7S II, 3, 4, oh boy. But it's close. It's right there. That's interesting. 24 megapixels, so you got double the resolution of a Sony. But you're almost right there. Pleasing dynamic range. I was happy with the S1 dynamic range, so I imagine it's similar. You got the full V-Log in there. It's like, wow, there's a squirrel. Hey, buddy. It's raining. Hey, buddy. Here, buddy. Come here. Is he coming? Here. Yay. Why is it raining? Oh, God. Oh, find shelter. Come, we'll... They're not bothered in the rain. I was trying to not throw the nuts into the street. All I need is like, here you go, but oh no, he got hit by a car. That would suck. On paper, it looks like a somewhat respectable camera. 4K 24p, 10-bit 422, and they got 4K 60p with an APS-C crop. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not a fan of 4K 60p. I don't give a shit. 4K 24, thank you. 1080p, 480 frames per second, then we might talk. But I find like I never use it on the Fuji, and I'm out here. I want slow-mo, but it has 240 frames per second. I don't care if the resolution is down a little bit. Give me a break. 4K 60p is lame. That's like people who shoot 1080p 60p thinking it's slow-mo. Y'all got birds in your attic, and they need to kill you. It's got a pretty mediocre screen, 3-inch, 1.8 million dots, which is slightly better than the Fuji X-T4 screen, but it's not as good as the S1H. Oh, that thing is glorious. I've never seen, actually I have, I debunked myself quick. Fuji X-T200, obviously, like the focus is so brilliant, but same with the 2.3 million of the S1H. Brilliant. I could finally see that I was in focus, whereas the GH5S, no thank you. The S5 is going to weigh 714 grams, slightly more than the Sony A7S III. That hurts, but it's less than their usual is. You wouldn't know English if it hit you in the mouth, but my God, let's be real with ourselves, Panasonic. You're going up against the Canon R5, R6, Sony A7S III. It doesn't matter that you're going to be cheaper. No one cares. Once you're into this kind of money for a camera, you spend a little more, 500 more. It's like, okay, it's a long-term decision. I had that G85 for what, like 3 years? And it was still working. I gave it away. It would have worked for 1,400 more years, guaranteed. Cameras of this caliber don't really die. Taking photos, maybe your shutter dies, but taking video, it's like it should never die unless you drop it. And or if you're a GoPro. Yeah, I said. But who the hell is going to buy a Panasonic S5 with contrast detect autofocus instead of a Canon R6, even though it overheats? They don't even care. 1080p on that thing, at least you're in focus. Out of focus, 4K looks worse than 720p. As I slowly track myself to prove a point that Panasonic has the best autofocus system this world has ever known. I got time. I don't even care anymore. The Panasonic IBIS system in the S1, terrible. You just shaved off 300 grams. You didn't improve the IBIS then. You made it worse, if anything. So you're behind Canon in stabilization and autofocus and color science. You might beat them in dynamic range. Why am I adding to the points? You're just losing a lot. It's my fault. Panasonic already has the worst lens lineup because their cheap third-party glass just can't autofocus. Like Sigma's making this excellent glass, and they're just like, I'm sorry, we can't even do what you're asking us to do, to defocus the depth from the focal point and then refocus on an out-of-focus area and then trigger my internal memories from when I was 6 years old to reacquire focus. Nobody who could design something that can do that. So I had that, I still have the Sigma 45mm Tony 2.8 on the Panasonic S1. It's at home right now, for sure. It was losing me all the time. It was pulsing. But when I had the S1H, I could at least sit down and do a talking head video if I didn't move much with the Panasonic 50mm Tony 1.4. But it was like $3,000 glass. That's too much. So the L-mount Alliance is a sham. You would think, okay, at least they got Sigma on their side, but they don't autofocus right. And so you have to go with Panasonic native glass because the Leica glass is so over-the-top expensive for no reason. So you're stuck with Panasonic glass, and they don't really have anything that exciting. And it's so expensive and heavy. What have you done? Oh, look at the leading lines. To a time less forgotten. Am I right? You know what's funny? That kit lens it's coming with, a 20 to 50 or something, it's kind of exciting. Like a kit lens that's actually wide enough to vlog with. A 3.5 for a full frame, that's enough, Tone. Just enough. Just enough. But it is. I made the mistake the other day of filming, actually that video's coming. So whatever, I ruined it. But I was at 2.8 on the Samyang Fuji X-T4 by accident. I think it was 3.2. And I was like, oh, I realized it midway through, but it looked so good. And as soon as I went back to 2, it got worse and soft. Not that that has anything to do with anything, me stopping down my lens, but it looked good. It looked really cinematic, more so because it was sharper, stopped down. So, but that 20mm, that's an interesting lens because I could zoom on my squirrels. We're in the cinema right now, buddy. We are in the leaves of Donkey Kong. Trust me, but that lens is fairly light for a Panasonic lens. That could be a decent little kit for nature vlogging. You can't zoom very far, but I do tell you, whenever I go for a slow motion squirrel action and I got that Samyang, it's like, will you come close enough? Probably not. Your slow-mo sucks. when you can zoom into like 75, 80, 150 if you got it, you got some action. So all they needed to do was add phase detect autofocus, and then you got something. You're back in the game, but you keep refusing to do it. I don't understand it. There's a couple guys spreading rumors like, oh bro, Sony won't let them have it. Oh my god, just like Canon wouldn't let Sony do the flippy screen, right? They had the patent. It's like, oh, they'll let anybody else do it, but not Sony. They hate Sony so much. Now we got it on the S3. It's like, stop spreading lies. Try to confirm something in your life for once. Confirm you're about to get it. Keep your cool. So I don't get it. On paper, with phase detect, that's a somewhat intriguing camera and lens. But with contrast detect autofocus again, I can't do it. I can't do it. Just the unreliability. I've filmed several videos on the G9. Once I figured out that HLG, I could change the color matrix and then it looks somewhat normal, I was like, okay, we got some dynamic range. Best stabilization ever. 180 frames per second slow-mo. That looks pretty good. But it just keeps losing me all the time. And the slow-mo manual focus, same with this new one. The S5 has, you can autofocus up to 150 frames per second, but it's going to be Panasonic autofocus. We all know what that's like. Perfect in every way, every time. It never faults. Sometimes it's so smooth and perfect, it's like, oh yeah, you do get it. But then it'll just randomly lose you, so it's the reliability that you can't rely on. So we'll see, I'll test it out. If Camera Canada wants to hook a brother up, and we'll test it out, take it for a spin, we'll see. We'll laugh at it together. Or maybe the autofocus is final, I doubt it. It's just so jumpy, unreliable, and strange. I'm gonna leave on a high note after you buy a Camera Conspiracies t-shirt. It's in focus. Always. Subscribe for more videos and I'll see you.